once again, welcome to another daily video that I'm trying out, and this was a major change and it couldn't have happened without the tips that we're going to be talking about in this video, because my workflow before was pretty clunky. It had a lot of annoying steps, such as recording, transferring footage from your SD card onto your computer, chopping it up, syncing audio, all this stuff that when you're doing that for every single video, especially when you're trying to work out daily videos like I am now, it just compounds and it becomes just very annoying. And this involves a new program that I'm using in my workflow that is completely free. No catch, it's free. And that program is OBS, Open Broadcast Software. That's what it stands for. And that is what I'm using to actually pre-package a video from the camera directly recorded onto my computer with audio that is synced up, that has already effects and filters such as compressor, limiter, and all this stuff. And it saves that file into the format that you want in 4K. Right now, to get this working, you're actually going to need something that can grab the signal from the HDMI port of your camera of choice and actually convert it into something that your computer can process. Now, there's a few options for this. Blackmagic makes some devices that can help you with this, but my personal one that I'm using right now is the ELGATO LINK 4K. You just need this thing, which converts an HDMI signal into just a regular USB that you can plug into your computer, and that signal gets processed through OBS, which is what I'm using right now to shoot this video and record this video, which again is a free software that takes that video signal, and you can do all sorts of things with it. So you could just capture it as I'm doing now, or you could do a picture-in-picture type of effect if you're doing more tutorials. And you can also live stream with this. So there's a lot of potential, but right now we're just going to focus on just getting a basic setup of getting you all of this to output a single file that is ready to edit or ready to upload. So once you have purchased this encoder or this converter, you're also going to need the right type of HDMI cable to connect to it. So the reason why I say the right type is because most of the cameras on the market right now, like the one that I'm using right now, is the Sony Alpha 6600, but all of the Alpha lineup uses micro HDMI. Micro is different than mini, so make sure you're using the micro HDMI cable, and typically you want to have micro to full HDMI. So you can plug the full end onto the Elgato device or whatever else, and the micro end will fit into the camera. This is all you need as far as hardware. You can check the link in the description for all those pieces that are compatible for your camera. I've already set up those links down there, so you don't have to browse the internet for it. And they're also affiliate links, so it gives me a kickback at no extra cost to you, which of course helps the channel. But now let's jump into the software and let's see what you can do in terms of setting it up in order for you to get the best quality and not lose any quality from this process. And how we can sync up an external microphone like the one that I'm using right now through an audio interface, and what filters you can add to make that sound nice, and what settings you want to avoid and what settings you want to choose in order for all of this to work properly. So one of the first things that you want to do is set up a scene. And the way you do this is by simply hitting this plus button. You're going to name your scene, and for most purposes, you only need one scene, but the nice thing about this is that you can set up different types of scenes, whether you're live streaming or, like I said, you're doing tutorials where you want to have different types of setups with your camera and where your feed is placed. You can include multiple feeds. So before I get ahead of myself, let's do exactly that. Within your scene, you can actually add an element. Now, these elements can be your video capture device, they can be the monitor itself, or they can be audio inputs, all the stuff that you can add within this scene. So to get this working, all I really need is a video capture device. And if you have it connected and if you have your camera on, your computer should be able to read that you have the Elgato 4K link, or whichever one you're using, plugged in. So you just select that one, and then all you have to do is select the right types of resolution that you need. Now, here's the tricky part. You have to set up the resolution a few times. You have to set it up in the video capture device as far as what kind of resolution you want to input. In my case, it's 3840 by 2160. That's the 4K resolution that I'm using. And also you have to select that for the canvas setting. So you want to make sure that those settings and the frame rate and the resolution matches there. but also you want to make sure that it's not downscaling once you are saving the file, once you're outputting. So you want to make sure that your output resolution matches those resolutions as well. Now, to set up the recording settings, and this is very important because I've had some issues with this and it's really important to get right. You want to go under OBS recording settings and then go under the output, change the output mode to standard. Then you want to update the recording format to MP4. This is just a format that's friendly to most computers and most software, and set the audio track to 1. Now, if you have a graphics card that comes maybe built into your PC or something like that, you can select that graphics card for better performance if you have a really nice one, or you can just go with the default settings that OBS has. Now, here's another important one. Select your CBR, so essentially the bit rate and the amount of information that is processed every second. You want to make sure that you set that to CBR and that the value is 40,000. Now, if you don't do 40,000, essentially you're just decreasing the amount of information that can be processed and encoded every second, and you end up with some weird artifacts and smearing that is just going to look terrible. So you definitely want to avoid that. 40,000 is pretty high up. I mean, it's good enough. I think it's a good compromise in terms of not taking up so much computing power and giving you a nice resolution to play with. But if you start to experience some drop frames, or maybe your computer is struggling with that, you might want to decrease that. But I think 40,000 is not too much to ask. But if you're having trouble, do that, or maybe drop the resolution from 4K to HD. Then set GPU to 0 and B-frames set to 2. And now, as far as the best audio settings, we can go under the audio tab in the settings panel and set the audio rate to 320 in track 1. And if you're using more than one track, just match that bit rate for all of them. So 320 for all of them. And there you go. That should get you set up for recording. Now, keep in mind that these settings are not optimal for live streaming. These are great if you're just trying to get a pretty decent output from your camera without any kind of loss of quality. And that's the settings that I'm using right now for this video. So if you think it looks good, and I think it's good enough for YouTube, these are the settings that I'm using. And like I said, it's super nice to, again, generate a file from all of this without having to deal with dumping footage from the SD card and all of that, and not having to lose or compromise quality in that process. Now, one other thing that I'll do that is super interesting here, when you're going down to the audio mixer here in your main sort of window of OBS, first of all, you want to make sure that if you are using an external microphone, you want to turn down or mute the video capture device audio, because that will start to add some crackling, or you're going to have two audio tracks that are essentially hearing the same thing but kind of fighting each other and giving you sort of a distorted signal. So you want to make sure that you're just using whichever mic input you want, and in my case it's this one, and I can very quickly set it up as the audio interface and select that one, and you can see that I have levels popping up here and everything looks nice. But we can take this a step further. I can go under this gear icon and I can actually add some filters to this audio signal. So I can add a compressor to make the voice sound nice. I can add a limiter so that if I'm screaming or whispering or something like that, I can stay within a range and it doesn't clip or distort. So there's a lot of really useful stuff that you can do in a way that is essentially real time. You don't have to apply all these effects in the audio track mixer later in Premiere, or have to repeat the same steps over and over for every time you're editing a video. You are essentially having a prepackaged video ready to go, so you can just only chop it up and add whatever else you want on top, but the main talking head bit is already taken care of. And that is how I will be shooting these videos, and it has already simplified things so much. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is part of me adapting to the algorithm, trying to be more efficient, trying to work smarter and not harder. And yeah, it feels good to be back on track onto more technical videos, more educational videos, and leave the drama of what has happened in the new year behind. If you want to catch up to speed with what I mean by that, you can check out the videos in the info cards. And also, if you have any suggestions, because I've seen some suggestions in the past videos of video topics that were super interesting, I'm actually going to start to take your feedback and start to develop content around the stuff that you guys want to see. So leave a comment as far as what kind of filmmaking, editing, VFX, tutorial topic or video you want to see on the channel, And so yeah, pretty excited about that. Thank you so much again for all the support. Honestly, that means so much. So thank you again. All right, my name is Chris Trini for Kriscoart, and I'll see you tomorrow again. All right, peace.